All right, today we're going to do something that feels a little bit like magic. We're going to teach a web browser to follow our commands all on its own. We're writing our very first Selenium test script from scratch, turning a regular browser into our own personal robot. Okay, let's dive right in.
It really all starts with this question, right? How do you give instructions to a piece of software that was built for humans to click around in? Well, you don't need a magic wand, you just need a language that it can understand. And today, we're going to learn the basics of that language and write the code that brings it all to life.
So here's our game plan. We'll start with the blueprint, figuring out what we actually want to do. Then we'll build the engine with some basic code. After that, the fun part, giving instructions. We'll follow that up with the launch sequence to see it all in action, and then finish up with a quick mission debrief.
Okay, let's get into section 1, the blueprint. Before you write a single line of code, you gotta have a plan. It's so important. We need to decide exactly what we want our automated browser to do.
Our mission today is simple, but it's super powerful. We're going to tell the browser to do 4 specific things. First, just launch itself. Easy enough. Second, go to a specific sample website. Third, it's going to find a little text box and add a new to-do item to a list. And finally, and this is key, it's going to clean up after itself and close everything down. A nice, clear, achievable goal.
Now for section 2, building the engine. We have our blueprint, so it's time to lay the foundation. This is the core code structure that's going to hold all the commands we're about to give it. This first line here, think of it like opening up a specialized toolkit. We're using JavaScript's require to pull in specific tools from the Selenium library. We're grabbing builder, which is going to build our browser, by, which helps us find stuff on the page, and key, which lets us pretend to press keys on the keyboard.
Next up, we create this thing called an async function. You can just think of this as our mission control center. Everything we want to happen will go inside these curly braces. We use the word async because, browser actions aren't instant. Loading a page takes time. This just tells our script, hey, be ready to wait for things to finish before you jump to the next step.
This one line is basically us turning the key in the ignition. We use the builder, we tell it we want a Firefox browser, and then we tell it to build. That keyword await is crucial. It tells our script to pause and wait until the browser is fully up and running. Then we assign control of this new browser to a variable called driver. This driver is now our remote control for everything else we're going to do.
Our engine is running, so it's time for section 3, giving instructions. This is where we pick up our driver remote control and start telling the browser exactly what we want it to do.
Our first command is super straightforward. We just tell our driver to get a specific URL. This is literally the same as you typing an address into the search bar and hitting enter. And again, we use await to make sure the script waits for that page to completely load before it tries to do anything else.
Now, before we can interact with anything on the page, we have to talk about locators. A locator is just an address. That's it. Think about it. Your house has a street address, so the mail can find you. Well, every button, every link, every text box on a web page can have a unique address too, so Selenium can find.
So now we're going to use that idea. We tell our driver to find an element. But how? Well, we're using one of the best ways, by.id. On a well-built website, IDs are supposed to be totally unique, which makes them a really reliable way to find exactly what you're looking for. In this case, we're grabbing the text box with the ID sample to do text.
And here's the cool part. Once Selenium finds our element, we can chain another command right onto it. Send keys does exactly what it sounds like. It sends keys. It's going to type learn Selenium right into that field we just found. Then we also send key.return, which is just like hitting the enter key to submit it.
And our very last instruction is so important for good practice, driver.quit. This doesn't just close the window, it properly shuts down the entire session, which frees up all the resources on your computer. It's just the clean, correct way to end our automation. All right, let's move on to section 4, the launch sequence. We've got the blueprint, we've built the engine, we've programmed the instructions, now it's time for the payoff. To actually run this thing and watch the magic happen.
Hey, remember that example function we wrapped all our commands in? Well, just defining it doesn't actually make it run. You have to explicitly call it. So this one little line at the very end of our file, example calling it, that's the trigger. That's what kicks off the whole show.
So to bring our script to life, we just pop open our command line terminal, we type node, which is how you run a JavaScript file, and then we give it the path to our script. The second we hit enter on our keyboard, Node.js will execute that code, and you'll see a browser window pop up and do its thing.
And that brings us to our final section, the mission debrief. We did it. So let's just take a second to quickly review the new skills and commands that you now have in your automation toolkit.
So let's just recap our core toolkit here. We used build to start the browser, we used driver.get to go to our website, find element was like our targeting system to lock onto an element, send keys let us actually type into it, and finally, driver.quit gave us a clean shutdown. These 5 commands, they are the absolute fundamental building blocks for pretty much any browser automation you can think of.
So seriously, take a moment to let that sink in. You've gone beyond just using a browser. You just wrote a set of instructions that a machine can follow perfectly every single time. This is a huge first step from just being a user of the web to becoming an architect of its automation.
And that leaves us with one last question. You can now automatically add an item to a to-do list. So, what's next? What about automatically filling out a contact form, or grabbing data from a web page, or logging into a site? The possibilities are honestly endless, and you've just taken the first step. So, what are you going to build next?